Viral 2010s indie games. Depending on your age, you may have a few different reactions to that phrase. If you were a 2010s kid like myself, you're probably waxing nostalgically on all the Let's Play videos you used to watch on your family computer back in grade school. If you were a 2000s kid, you're probably waxing nostalgically about making said Let's Play videos. If you're a kid right now, you're too young to be on YouTube, you'll watch VeggieTales or something. And if you're older than all the age groups I've just mentioned, you've probably got no idea what I'm talking about. Hi, Mom and Dad. For those who do know what I'm talking about, what games come to mind when I say viral 2010s indie game? Minecraft? Five Nights at Freddy's? Undertale? Well, my childhood console was the Wii U, so I didn't really get to play all those indie games that were popular on the internet back in the 2010s, with the exception of Minecraft. The Wii U port releasing was a historic moment for 8-year-old me. The Wii U did have a YouTube client though, so naturally I tended to experience these games vicariously through various Let's Players. I'd become obsessed with them for a period of time and then proceed to never actually play them for myself. I've got 4 examples of this phenomenon to share with you today, so let's get started with the earliest point of the timeline, shall we? For those unaware, because my parents watch my videos, Undertale is a role-playing game created by Toby Fox in 2015 which acts as a subversion of the genre by having the best ending only be achievable by showing mercy on all of your foes. I believe my first exposure to Undertale was watching EvanTube play it back in 2015 or 16. After he stopped making videos on it, I decided to look up the pacifist ending on YouTube and then proceeded to cry my little heart out because something sad goat man wants some friends. It's also kind of funny looking back at EvanTube's videos about this game because it's apparent that he'd actually already played through it because of the dialogue differences that only show up on repeat playthroughs. Of course, I also ended up watching the infamous Sans' Nest game theory episode, which was also around the time I developed a similar obsession with Earthbound. Although I did actually play that one on one of those shady emulator websites. After a little while, I pretty much lost most interest in Undertale until like 2022 or something when it was on Game Pass, so I decided to actually play it. I remember liking it, but that was pretty much it. It's got a really good soundtrack, likable characters, and some pretty cool story ideas, but in my opinion, Toby Fox's next project, Deltarune, is superior in basically every way. Even though as of making this, it's only halfway done. Anyway, what's next? Oh no! Hello, neighbor. Goodbye, see you later. I don't think an indie game has fallen off as hard as Hello Neighbor has. Hello Neighbor is a game about breaking into your weird neighbor's house and solving puzzles to see what suspicious stuff he's doing in his basement, all while trying to avoid getting caught by the man himself. It's a self-described stealth horror game, though I'd hesitate to really call it scary. Here, let me play the scariest part for you right now. All he does is justifiably kick you out of his house. The game's first few alpha demos were quite well received, and all the Let's Players jumped on the game like a pack of wolves. It's commonly agreed that the quality started to dip with the third alpha, since after MatPat's game theory video on Hello Neighbor was released, the developers lost sight of what people actually liked about the game and started trying to get YouTubers to make more theory videos for free marketing. One horrendously buggy, needlessly lore-heavy, and overall mediocre full release later, and literally nobody cares about this series anymore. As for my personal experience with the game, I primarily watched FGTV's videos on the alphas and the full release, and then lost interest along with everybody else on the planet. Man, remember when these guys are just a Skylanders channel? But you know what's the craziest part? They're still making these games! Go look on Steam right now. There's 2 main games, 3 spin-offs, and they're working on Hello Neighbor 3 as I'm writing this. And basically nobody cares. I haven't heard anyone mention the series in conversation in at least 5 years, probably more. And who's playing these? Oh, and there's also a book series and a TV show. This quote-unquote franchise has so much content under its umbrella, and I've heard basically nothing about it from anyone. That is, apart from the series of tweets the developers made to MatPat about the TV show, which is probably the best thing to ever come out of any of this. It's pretty funny.
Welcome to Baldi's Basics in Education and Learning.
This is probably the one that baffles me the most as to why I never played it as a kid, because it's literally free. What, was it too scary for me around the time this was popular? This is the worst the game gets. That's it, it's barely a horror game. How could someone ever be remotely scared of Baldi Baldi? Anyway, Baldi's Basics in Education and Learning pretends to be a 90s edutainment game in the same vein as something like Sonic Schoolhouse, but when you get this impossible math question wrong, old Baldi Baltimore over here gets mad and chases you around the school with a ruler. Your objective is to collect all 7 notebooks scattered around the school and escape without Baldi catching you. Like Hello Neighbor, Baldi is also still kicking around on Steam, but it's not trying to be some huge, lore-heavy franchise, which I respect. The developer Micah McGonigal knows what this game is and isn't trying to turn it into something that it isn't. Now, I don't remember the exact way I was introduced to this game, but I was hooked when I saw some gameplay of it. I even distinctly remember combing through the entirety of every article on the Baldi's Basics wiki at some point, which makes it even stupider that I never played the dang thing when it was and always will be free. Now, when I said I'd be doing this video in the order that I first saw these games in, I kinda lied. But that's just because I wanted to save FNAF for last. The average person who clicked on this video probably already knows what these games are, but again, because my parents watch my videos, Five Nights at Freddy's is a series of point-and-click resource management horror games developed by Scott Cawthon. He got the idea for the first game after critics likened the character models in his latest game at the time, Chipper and Sons Lumber Company, to creepy Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. Because of that, he decided to make his next project about working the night shift at a pizza restaurant with creepy animatronics that try to kill you. One of the biggest Let's Players at the time, Markiplier, played it on his channel, and the rest is history. Now, there's over a dozen official games, like 4 different book series, 2 movies, and thousands of YouTube videos trying to figure out what the story even is. I first heard about this game in a magazine, and the picture they showed, which wasn't even from the actual game, it was just a shot of the animatronics performing their song in the trailer, terrified me for whatever reason. I remember one time my cousin and I were at my grandma's house, and he was playing the first game on his laptop. I was hiding under the table for more than half of it. It was that bad. But as much as these games frightened me, they also fascinated me. So I ended up watching a ton of the game theory videos on this series, and pretty much nothing else because I was still too scared to look up any Let's Play videos. Because of how big it was at the time, a large portion of the late elementary school conversations I remember were about FNAF in some way. I distinctly remember one of my friends telling me about the first book, an older kid who was convinced that the third game was going to be in a mall, and that same kid telling me all about how the first game works and all the playground rumors he'd heard about it. But what do I think about it in the year of our Lord 2026? Yeah, it's kinda neat. I just like listening to people on YouTube passionately ramble about the lore of the Funny Bear game. I still don't partake much in the actual games, but I'm not really scared of them anymore. It's more so because of these characters being memed into oblivion than anything. I can't be scared of Freddy Fazbear in most contexts because of the copious amounts of memeage surrounding him. Would I be scared if I played one of the VR games and it looked like he was right in front of me? Absolutely, yes. But as characters confined to the boundaries of my flat monitor, they don't elicit much of a fear response. So yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's is a game series that exists and has the world's most convoluted storyline. I guess if there's anything to take away from this video, it's that YouTube can be a bit of a double-edged sword when it comes to promoting games. On the one hand, if a big creator decides to play your project on their channel, that's a ton of free advertising for you. On the other hand, that creator's audience might think they've seen everything your game has to offer from said creator's videos and then no longer feel the need to play your game, if that need even existed in the first place. Or maybe I'm just looking into this too much. I just thought it was kind of funny that a bunch of interests I had as a kid were for games I never actually tried out. So yeah, like, subscribe, comment, all that. See y'all later, whenever I feel like making another thing.